Investing is the rational thing to do with your money. So why are so many Australians not investing? Today, we're unpacking why our brains often hold us back. Welcome to Get Started Investing, a podcast where we help you make the most of your money. My name is Bryce, and as always, I'm joined by my equity buddy, Ren. How are you going?
I'm very good, Bryce. Very excited for this episode. This is an important one. Beating your brain. Getting our animal lizard brain. We're not really lizards.
Lizards?
Yeah. You know, you say like your lizard brain, your base instincts.
I've never heard that.
Never heard that?
No.
Okay, well, let us know in the YouTube comments if I'm saying weird things or Bryce is out of touch. But look, I think so much of our psychology sort of holds us back from making what I would argue is a rational choice, which is long-term investing. And that's what we want to unpack today. Some of the reasons that we stop ourselves from making the most of our money.
Yeah. So investing makes sense. It's a rational thing to do.
God, it would be heavy if we'd done all this and it didn't.
No, it doesn't make any sense.
So why is it rational?
Well, inflation erodes your money over the long term.
Yep.
A dollar today is worth more than a dollar in 10 years, which is worth more than a dollar in another 10 years.
Yep.
If you don't do anything with your money, it erodes your purchasing power.
Yep.
Investing, on the other hand, is the way that you can beat that.
Yep.
It beats inflation. So it makes sense. It's something that we should all be doing.
Yeah, exactly. Long-term stock market investing in particular has not only kept up with inflation, it's beaten inflation. So those two facts alone should suggest that investing is a rational choice in terms of what you do with the money you earn. And yet more than half of Australian adults don't invest. So the Australian government survey had the number of Australian adults today, 20.7 million.
Yep.
The ASX Investor Study of 2023 found that 10.2 million Australian adults invest. That means 10.5 million Australian adults aren't investing.
Unbelievable. So today we're going to unpack 4 cognitive biases that are holding us back from investing. Now, if you've just joined us and you're unsure what a cognitive bias is, we can give the technical definition from one of the key psychologists from around the world. He says that a cognitive bias is an unconscious and systematic error in thinking that occurs when people process and interpret information in their surroundings and that influence their decisions and judgments. So that is the technical definition. But in other words, it's your brain plays tricks on you that make you act irrationally. And there are a number that are very relevant to you as an investor, no matter how experienced you are, that can really impact your long-term returns. So we've got 4 that we're going to go through. The first barrier, Ren, or the first cognitive bias is what it is called future self bias. And this is all to do with how we think about ourselves in the future.
Yes. If money is worth less in the future because of inflation, our brains also think our future selves are worth less than our current selves.
Yeah.
And you can understand why that is the case. You know, as we were trying to survive day to day in earlier forms of evolution, we weren't doing long-term resource planning.
No.
But the psychologist that really sort of unpacked this and I guess put some science behind it was Hal Hershfield. He's a professor of psychology at UCLA, and he did a number of studies where he scanned people's brains and asked them about their current selves, their future selves, and strangers. And what he found was when people were making decisions and thinking about their future selves, their brains lit up in similar way as if they were thinking about strangers. So that's kind of how we think about our future self, not as making decisions for ourselves, but making decisions that will benefit a stranger.
Yeah, and I guess then if you think about how that affects you from an investment point of view, if you're thinking about your future self as a stranger, you're not going to be putting money away for that stranger for the long term. You're not going to be investing now knowing that it's going to benefit that person in the future. So you're prioritizing yourself here and now and your short-term needs rather than thinking about the longer-term future you.
Yeah. And so recognizing that when we get given a trade-off between consuming today, which we feel benefits us, and delaying that consumption for a future date, which we don't feel benefits us, our brains will naturally resort to consuming today, spending that money that we've earned today.
Yeah.
And so to overcome that, to put ourselves in the best long-term position, we have to make a conscious decision to put that money away in the structure of how we manage our finances. And so that's why we say you pay your future self first.
Yeah.
When you get paid every month, every fortnight, take some of that money and specifically put it towards investing, because otherwise you'll find your brain tricks you into just spending it.
Yes. So that's barrier number one. The second cognitive bias is uncertainty aversion. This is where people prefer known risks over unknown risks, even if the unknown one might lead to a worse outcome.
Yeah. And so what we mean here is that people are very aware of the risk of the stock market.
Yeah.
People see it in the media, people see it in history books, people hear about it on podcasts. Markets crashing is a fact of life, and it's a fact of life that people who are investing or thinking about investing are aware of. What is less discussed, what is the unknown risk, is not having enough money for retirement.
Yeah.
Not being able to live the life you want, not being able to make the choices you want to make, not having financial flexibility and freedom. And so people prioritize the risk that is more well known in their minds and in their thinking, rather than properly weighting that risk with the less known and less quantifiable risk.
Yeah. So obviously how this affects you, you're not going to get started you might be holding way too much cash in the bank and delaying decisions until you feel 100% confident to get started, which I can tell you is very, very unlikely.
So how do we overcome it? Our big answer to that is automate. The secret to investing is so simple. It is just consistently investing and staying the course.
Yeah.
Being a true long-term investor. And so taking your brain out of the decision-making process and having an automated system where your money gets transferred from wherever you get paid to your brokerage and that automatically gets invested just takes all of that thinking around the known risk out of the equation.
Yeah.
You stop asking, is the market going to crash?
Yeah.
Because the investing is just happening in the background.
And there's pretty significant implications on your returns, Ren, if you are, feeling a little uncertain and then as a result trying to time your entry into the market or trying to time your exit out of the market. Is the market going to crash? I'm not going to invest. The market is crashing. I'm going to pull my money out. Because by doing so, you're likely to miss the best days the market ever has, and that has pretty significant consequences. So much so that the Bank of America looked at the S&P 500 from 1930 through to 2021, and they asked that question: what happens if you missed the best days?
Yes.
So if you'd invested $1,000 from 1930 and you missed the best 10 days of each of those decades, you would have $1,280.
28% return.
28% return.
In what?
90
years. Yeah.
91 years, 28% return. However, if you'd stayed invested and you were able to benefit from all of those days, you would have $178,150.
Yes. It's
pretty significant.
It's a massive, significant difference. And the important thing is you earned more by doing less.
Yeah.
By stop thinking about the known risk of, could the stock market crash, and instead just staying invested. And what would be even more powerful, what the Bank of America didn't do in their study, they asked if you'd invested $1,000 at the start. What would be even more powerful is if you invested $1,000 at the start of each year and stayed invested.
Yeah.
So stay the course, automate it, get out of your own way.
Yeah.
That's the second thing we have to say. We're 2 down, we've got 2 to go, but we're just going to take a quick break first.
Welcome back to Get Started Investing. We're looking at 4 ways to beat your brain and become a better investor. Ren, number 3 is choice overload.
Yeah.
This is that feeling where you have so much choice that you actually don't make any decision.
Yeah, choice is a tax. Scott Galloway, one of our favorite podcasters, he had that quote that consumers don't want more choice. What they want is more certainty around the choices they're making.
Yeah.
Choice makes us feel overwhelmed.
Yeah.
It makes us feel confused. It makes us feel uncertain. And unfortunately, in the investing context, choice stops us making a decision. So many Australians don't get started investing because there's now more than 30 brokers that they have to choose from. And then once they make a decision about what broker they're going to sign up with, then there's, thousands of Australian stocks, but also, are we in the thousands of ETFs yet?
Hundreds in Australia. Thousands, many thousands in the US.
In the US, it's got to such a point where there's now more ETFs than there are stocks.
Yeah.
The amount of choice is overwhelming.
Yeah.
And psychologically, it often makes us try and find the needle in the haystack, try and delay making a decision until we're confident we've made the perfect decision.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that stops us investing.
It does. It does. And again, that's the biggest risk that you can take, which is to not get invested. But Ren, the simple answer to this is that nowadays you don't have to make that decision around finding the needle in the haystack, because you can buy a bit of everything and have a very, very successful investing career by simply taking away the choice of choosing individual stocks, putting your money in a well-diversified ETF that tracks the Aussie market or the US market or the global stock market, and the return profile of those products is more than enough.
Yeah. So we've had a look at the Australian All Ordinaries Index, which is the 500 largest stocks in Australia. And over the past 124 years, with dividends reinvested, it's delivered 13% a year. Now, that's an incredible track record. If you invested $100 a month for 40 years and got that 13% return a year, you would have $1.6 million.
Easy.
So choice overload is our brains struggling with the options that we have available. The antidote to choice overload is the absolute simplest choice, an index tracking ETF that buys a little bit of everything, and just owning that and continuing to invest in that is enough.
Yeah. What more do you need?
Yeah.
Nothing. All right. The final one is exponential growth bias. This is where we really, really struggle to grasp how quickly small, consistent changes can compound over a long period of time. It's that excuse that a lot of people starting off by making, what's $100 going to do?
Yeah.
What's $5 going to do?
The brain can think linearly. What's 6 plus 6 plus 6?
24.
No. 18. It can't think exponentially. What's 6 times 6 times 6?
Good question. 36 by whatever it is. I'm going to say 190.
No, you see, you underestimated it. 216. The brain struggles to think exponentially. And as you said, like we struggle to, in an investing context, we struggle to think what small amounts invested can compound into over time if they just are getting a consistent rate of return. And so it stops us getting started because we think, I don't have enough money to get started. Investing isn't for me. I'll invest later in my life when I have more money, which is exactly the wrong way to think about it, because time is the investor's best friend. Time is what makes compounding do its thing. Warren Buffett, 99% of his wealth came after the age of 50. Investing early, investing consistently, and staying the course, that is the only secret to investing. So if you don't think you have enough money, in the previous example, we did a hypothetical example. What does 13% a year get you? Let's do an actual example using actual returns from the Australian All Ordinaries Index. And so we've had a look at investing $50 a week between 1983 and 2023. So again, 40 years, and reinvesting the dividends. But rather than just using the average 13% a year, we've looked at actual returns in that time. $50 a week in those 40 years, reinvesting the dividends gets you to $1.03 million.
Yeah.
So again, just even if you're taking a small amount of money from your pay each fortnight or each month and investing it, that can compound into a huge number. And it may not feel like that is possible, but the reason it doesn't feel like it's possible is because our brains struggle to think exponentially.
Yeah. So to wrap all of this up, 4 cognitive biases that can really impact your long-term returns. But the good news is that there are very simple ways to overcome it. And we kind of wrap it up into a 4-step strategy, which is A, to pay yourself first so that you are beating that future self bias, to automate the process as much as possible to take away any uncertainty and the feeling to try and time the market. Buy a bit of everything to reduce that choice overload, and then repeat that process so that you can take advantage of the exponential growth that will occur over the next however long you're in the market.
Yeah, we've said it before, and I'm sure we'll say it again, that investing, the simplest way to invest can make the most sense, or does make the most sense. It can feel overwhelming, or it can feel like you don't have enough knowledge or enough money to get started. But we're here to tell you that you do, and that you can. And most importantly, you should get started investing. As we started this episode, it is the rational thing to do. We're on a mission to make sure the other half of Australian adults who aren't currently investing do get started. So if you want to help us and join us on that mission, share this episode with someone who should listen to it and should get started investing.
And that's a good reminder that you are not going through this alone. These are all cognitive biases that most investors are facing. So don't think that this is just you trying to battle through this. Ren and I have both gone and still go through some of these and remind ourselves every day that we should try and overcome them. So come and join us in the Equity Mates community. You can hit us up on Facebook, where there's plenty of discussion going on. But that brings us to the end of our episode. If you could leave a rating and a review wherever you are watching or listening, that would be really appreciated. We'll leave it there. We'll pick it up next episode.
Sounds good.